Hari Om. Today we will proceed with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, the final chapter, from verse number 24. From what we have seen in these past few verses, in verse number 20, from verses number 20 to 28, Lord Krishna is explaining to us about the three types of jnanam. Knowledge is of three types. Three types here means sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. And depending on the type of knowledge will also result in the type of karta or the type of karma first, what type of action one performs. So based on whether we have sattvic, rajasic or tamasic knowledge, then the karma or the action that we perform will also be of three types, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. And again, based on the knowledge of a person, the three types of knowledge will also result in the type of karta or the doer also will be of three types. So from verses 20 to 28, the Lord explains about this because knowledge and action are closely related. The type of knowledge we have will influence our actions. So then after that, from verses 29 to 39, Lord will also talk about the three types of buddhi, intellect, which influences our knowledge. So whether we have a sattvic, rajasic or tamasic buddhi, that type of knowledge we will acquire. And then he also talks about dhriti or perseverance or what we call firmness on the path. So again, depending on sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, that will be three types of dhriti or perseverance. And finally, he will talk about the result of the action or the sukham will also be of three types. So the three sattvic, rajasic, tamasic are all very closely linked when it comes to knowledge, jnanam, action, karma, doer or karta, and also buddhi, intellect or intelligence, dhriti, perseverance, and sukham, which is the ultimate result of our action, is also of three types. So we have already covered three types of knowledge, jnanam. We have covered what is sattvic karma in the last verse number 23. So today from 24 we will discuss about the rajasic, what is classified as rajasic karma, rajasic action, and verse number 25 we will see what is tamasic action. So let us look now at verse number 24. The Lord uses the word tu. The word tu here means but or however, means to indicate that Krishna is now describing another type of karma which is totally different from the sattvic karma described in verse number 23. So 24 is going to be about rajasic karma. What is the difference? Basically, in sattvic karma, spiritual growth is the primary objective and material growth is accepted as the secondary objective. Whereas in rajasic karma and rajasic action, material growth is given the prominence, it's a primary motive. And whether there is any spiritual goal or growth, that is immaterial when we do any rajasic action. So generally this rajasic action is called nishkama karma, or this is known as sakama karma, that is action which is driven by selfish motives. So let us see what the Lord says. He says in this verse 24, chapter 18, rajasic karma is yat, meaning that karma, that action, which is kamepsuna. Kamepsuna means it is done for the sole purpose of some selfish benefit or return, where what is in it for me, if there is some benefit for me, then I will undertake that action, where there is a material gain or where there is some personal gain. So kamepsuna means that which is driven by some desire for selfish result. So kamepsuna consists of two words. There is kama, which is desire, and ipsu, which means obsess with those desires. When you add it together, it becomes kamepsuna. So a person who's obsessed with selfish desires, and the Lord says rajasic guna as rajasic karmas are also those which are undertaken sa ahamkarena. Sa ahamkarena means endowed with ego. So a person performs actions driven by selfish motives and also driven by ego. A sattvic action is undertaken for self-purification, but a rajasic action is undertaken for self-gratification, rewards for recognition, glorification, etc. Here a person does not acknowledge the grace of God or whatever he has accomplished. So rajasic karmas end up fattening the ego, and sattvic karmas weaken the ego. That is the difference. Now the Lord adds some more what we call classifications of a rajasic karma, rajasic action. He says vahapuna, and again, this is the further definition of a rajasic karma. He says it is bahula ayasam. Bahula ayasam means that where there is a lot of stress involved in the action. There's a lot of worry, there's a lot of tension in that action. Why? Because a rajasic person engages in action with certain selfish goals in mind. And first of all, there is no end to selfish desires. When one selfish desire is attained, the mind conjures up another selfish desire. So the mind is continuously tormented by multiple desires. So there is no peace of mind. And also there is constant fear and anguish. Will I get this? When will I achieve that? When will the result come? So always that is continuously weighing on the mind. So the Lord says rajasic desires are categorized by bahula ayasam, done with extreme mental stress, because there is some expectation. So he says all actions are kriyate, done or carried out with great stress. Okay, and the greater the desires, the greater the stress. And stress affects us, as we know, physically, mentally, and intellectually also. So the Lord concludes in this verse 24 by saying that type of action, udharitam, is said to be rajasam, a rajasic type of karma. Now let us see how the Lord defines tamasic karma in verse number 25. So in tamasic karma, such actions are normally undertaken without analyzing the consequences of the action. They just go ahead and do. They don't care about who you hurt or who gets, affected badly by your action. So there are generally 4 factors which are predominant in tamasic karma. And the Lord will mention here, he says, tat karma, that action, yat, which is arabhyate, undertaken anapeksha, without consideration. Consideration of what? Anubandham, consequences. And what are the possible consequences which can result from actions which the tamasic person is not at all concerned? One is that moha or delusion. Delusion means impulsiveness. They do not analyze or understand the situation. They don't try to consider the consequences of their action upon the family, so upon society, upon community, upon environment. They don't care at all. So there is destruction. Because of my greed, I destroy the environment. I don't care about the outcome. Or because of my gambling or my alcoholism, I don't give enough money to my family, so I end up troubling my family. The tamasic person does not care about their actions. So those are what we call tamasic actions, both short-term and long-term consequences. And when one does forbidden action, one does not consider the implications of this action. So first is moha, The second is Shayam. Shayam means loss. Loss in terms of my name, my honor, my reputation, my financial loss, my health. All these things are never ever considered in a tamasic type of action. Example, if we look at Mahabharata itself, Duryodhana's actions in the Mahabharata war were driven by his greed to rule Hastinapura and for his hatred of the Pandavas. For this purpose, he drove the Pandavas and Kauravas to battle, to the battlefield, and caused the loss of millions of lives and the destruction of thousands of families. So, doing actions that bring consequences to other people's lives, bring shame to the family name and honor, all these things a person doesn't consider, and this is called tamasic action. Third is himsam or harm. Himsam means where you end up hurting anyone either physically or through verbal violence. Physically harming someone or using harsh words, insulting, sarcastic words, making others suffer, making humans suffer, also bringing what you call pain to animals and plants. So tamasic karma is that where it causes suffering to others physically, mentally, or financially. Okay, and according to the law of karma, you will reap whatever you do. And finally, the fourth factor is, which is never considered, is paurusham, or the ability. Now, every person has their own ability or capabilities. We should know our limitations and act accordingly. So one is trying to live beyond our means just to impress society, just to compete with others. We end up spending more money than what we are earning. So we don't see according to our capacity. We live a life which is beyond our means. We borrow money just in order to impress friends, impress relatives, impress neighbors. So undertaking actions without considering our own financial, emotional, physical, intellectual abilities and capabilities. The Lord concludes in this verse by saying, but that action, Ch18, is said to be tamasam, or of tamasic type. So now the topic of the three types of karmas is over. Now from verses 26, 27 and 28, the Lord will speak about the three types of karta or doer. Who is the sattvic karta? Who is the rajasic karta? Who is the tamasic karta? So let us look now at verse number 26. Again, the sattvic karta is described in verse 26 with four qualities. The first is mukta sangha, free from attachment. One who has renounced his hankering for results. To a sattvic karta, doing the right action and what is his obligatory duty, that is the primary criteria for doing any action. Not whether the outcome of action is favorable to me or not. What is to be done is my duty and should be done also. So that is the thing. What is the right action that contributes to the harmony of the family, harmony of society, harmony of the country, and what is my obligatory action that I will do, irregardless of whether there are any gains for me. That is what we call one quality also. The second quality is anahamvadi. Anahamvadi means free from ego. Not prone to thinking, I have done this, I have accomplished all this, I have helped this person, only because of me this project has been successful. So not claiming ownership to all our actions. Maintaining humility whenever there is success in any action, being constantly aware of the Lord's blessings in all our achievements. Whatever we have achieved, always be thankful to the Lord and don't take total credit for all the success in your life. Third is Dhriti Utsaha Samanvita, endowed with Dhriti, fortitude, that is, not giving up what one has started despite any obstacles. So one is, if one is willing to face any challenges, any obstacles, and utsaha means diligence. So doing the work with diligence, with care, with proper what we call concentration on the work also, putting in full effort. So the sattvic karta has all these qualities. So these are the qualities, and the next one here is here the Lord gives us nirvikaraha siddhi asiddhi. Nirvikaraha means unshaken, unaffected. By siddhi means success. Asiddhi means failure. So when success is there, one does not get carried away, does not get arrogant and look down upon others who are failing in their life. And when failure comes, he does not go into depression, worry, or blame others for his own failures. So the mind is very steady, the mind is very calm, it does not keep vacillating in favorable and unfavorable circumstances, maintaining a equanimity of mind. So the Lord says, such a karta uchyate is said to be sattvic. That is known as a sattvic karta, a sattvic doer. Now verse 27, Rajasic karta is defined, and a Rajasic karta is like a sattvic karta in the sense both are hardworking. They have great willpower, they put in great effort. The difference is Rajasic karta's motive is selfish in nature. Rajasic karta only considers his own benefit and not the welfare of others. So for a Rajasic karta, there is material growth, there is fame, there is success, but there is spiritual stagnation. 6 qualities of a Rajasic karta are given in this verse. And what are the 6 qualities given in verse number 27? The Lord says, the Rajasic karta is one who is a ragi, who has attachment, highly attached to his action, attached to his power, to his position, to his wealth, and they try all means, righteous or unrighteous way, to hang on to that. So to progress spiritually, one of the 9 qualities, to progress spiritually, the Lord has given us the sattvic qualities. But in a Rajasic person, he has a lot of attachment. So that is the one quality here, which is called ragi. Now in Tattva Bodha, Adi Shankaracharya also gives one of the qualities, one of the 9 qualities to progress spiritually in Tattva Bodha, and one of the qualities is called Vairagya, which is opposite of attachment. So that is very important to have a detachment, a sense of detachment. And Vairagya does not mean giving up everything. No, Vairagya means not being mentally attached to things. You have to understand that certain things come in life and certain things go away. We have to learn to accept that. The next quality is karma phala prepshu. Karma phala prepshu means using, here, karma phala, the other qualities which Adi Shankaracharya gives. So there are qualities which are listed in Vivekachudamani, which you can read about. So here we want to discuss about what we call Rajasic type of karta, or who is the Rajasic karta here. So let us look at this quality here that is mentioned. The first quality, as I mentioned earlier, is called ragi. The second quality here is called karma phala prepshu. Karma phala prepshu means using all the effort for selfish gains, always wanting more. What he does not have, he's constantly thinking what he doesn't have, what he wants in life. So one who leads a selfish life, always thinking about what he lacks. Third quality of a Rajasic karta is lubda, which means he is always greedy. He is never satisfied with whatever he has. He always compares what he has with what others have. And when he sees what others have more than him, he is never ever happy at all and even tries to grab away what others have for himself. Fourth quality is called himsa atmakaha. Himsa means violence. Himsa atmakaha means one who has tendency for violence. Now, this means that this Rajasic Karta does not have compassion or humility. He will use verbal or physical violence to get what he wants. So, one who through his actions will cause harm or destruction to others for the sake of selfish gains. Fifth quality of a Rajasic Karta is asuchi, unclean, impure. Impure at physical level, at thought level, and at speech level. So one who uses foul speech, foul language, he has got a lot of wicked thoughts in his mind and uses his body also to physically harm others also. Harsha, Sokha, Anvita. Harsha means joy, Sokha means sorrow, Anvita means constant fluctuation. A Rajasic person performs actions out of attachment and expectations. The result of that action may not always yield what we want. So the mind of such a person is very turbulent, very emotional, violent mood swings, sometimes extremely joyous when he gets what he expects, suddenly very agitated, angry when he does not get what he expects. So a Rajasic person is never a master of his mind. So the Lord concludes in verse number 27 by saying, anyone who has these 6 qualities, parikirtitaha, is declared to be Rajasic. That is a Rajasic Karta. Now verse 28, the Lord will speak about the Tamasic Karta. And the Tamasic Karta here is one who is not interested in spiritual goals, neither is he interested in material goals. Because out of laziness, he just has no goals in life, no idea where he wants to go in life. Only thing he's interested in is eating and sleeping. 8 characteristics of a Tamasic Karta are given. The first one in verse number 28 is Ayuktaha, unsteady, meaning one who is inattentive to duties, owing to a mind being always distracted by mundane things like eating and sleeping. So one mind who is unsteady, very, very easily distracted. Prakrita. Prakrita means naive, who is he has an unrefined intellect. Due to non-exposure to scriptures, a very childish way in thinking, may have worldly knowledge but lacks the basic living skills, doesn't understand the purpose and goal of human life, lacks the art of living. So that is what we call as prakrita or naive. Next quality is tabda, unbending, stubborn. Lacking humility, will not accept advice from higher authorities, from elders, from parents, from teachers, from sages and saints, from scriptural teachings. So he doesn't want to accept. He is very set in his ways and therefore he will never change his life or his lifestyle. Sataha, very deceitful, always employing cheating and deceitful methods to gain what he wants, full of excuses, always having excuse to escape from work and duties. So that is called sataha or deceitful. Next quality is nice kritikaha or wicked. Wicked here means he is only again interested in his own selfish purposes. His actions, he is not concerned if his actions bring about loss or destruction of others. And he always ends up hurting others through his verbal and physical actions. Alasaha, lazy, who is not diligent regarding his own duties, tries to avoid them or neglect them. Vishadi, morose, always very gloomy, very moody, sulking, bad-tempered, giving in to constant lamentation and worries. He has no positive outlook in life. Dirga Sutri, procrastinating, one of the very what we call what what we call very qualities of a tamasic person. Always procrastinating, Dirga Sutri, postponing all activities, unable to decide what to do, so he just postpones his decisions. The Lord concludes in this verse by saying, such a person who has all these qualities, Ch18, is said to be tamasa karta, a tamasic doer. So now the Lord has described the three types of kartas also by the three types of gunas. And from verse number 29 onwards, the Lord will talk about three topics. Three topics have already been covered. That is jnanam, knowledge, three types of knowledge, three types of karma, action, three types of karta, three types of doer. Now the Lord introduces the next two topics. One is buddhi, which is of three types, dhriti, fortitude, which is of three types, and also sukham or happiness, which is of three types. So let us see what he says in verse number 29. Verse number 29, Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Dhananjaya, winner of wealth. So he wants to encourage Arjuna that just like you have gained victory in all your previous battles and attained much wealth and fame, in the same way you can also gain victory over your intellect and strengthen your fortitude. So the Lord says, Srunu, may you listen carefully as I explain Bhedam, the classification of buddhi, which is the function or judgment of discrimination, cha, and dhriti, fortitude, which is the function also of the intellect. So the intellect is a very special equipment that only a human being in this entire creation is exclusively blessed with. One should know thus how to master this equipment to achieve all our right goals in life. An intellect which makes the right decision in life also must be supported by dhriti or willpower. Otherwise, right thinking is there, but there is no commitment to action. So willpower with right decision, meaning the right intellect, the right willpower, will keep you on the right course no matter whatever the obstacles. So the Lord says here, eva, indeed, these buddhi and dhriti are trividam, threefold, gunataha, according to sattvic, rajasic and tamasic. So he says, I'm going to prokchamanam, I'm going to declare or explain, asesena, very elaborately, prithakvena, very clearly. So there will be no doubt once I explain to you what are the three types of intellect, buddhi, what are the three types of dhriti or willpower. So now let us see what the Lord says in verse number 30. In this verse, Sri Krishna describes the nature of the sattvic intellect. The sattvic intellect is very clear about the goals of life and the right path to take to attain that goal. So the Lord says here, buddhi and intellect, yaha, which veti understands pravritim. Pravritti means path of action. Means a person who engages in all actions with the right understanding on the purpose of performing action is to attain inner purification. As the path of action is prescribed in the Karma Kanda of the Vedas for humans to follow to attain the goals of life, which is Dharma, Kama, Artha, and finally Moksha. So this person is very clear about what are the right actions to perform, pravritim, and nivritim, which means path of renunciation. That means when a person has reached a certain level of purification, the mind has been subdued, then the spiritual aspirant should know how to reduce the actions, the worldly preoccupations, reduce prayers, reduce rituals, and divert that time to jnana yoga or attaining spiritual knowledge. And the buddhi of a sattvic person, that means a sattvic buddhi, is one that clearly understands the right time to proceed with action and the right time also to reduce actions and increase more time on the pursuit of jnana yoga. So the Lord says that is called a sattvic buddhi, and also a sattvic buddhi is one that is very clear on karya. What is my duty? A sattvic person never abandons or does not perform his duties. It's very clear what is my duty that needs to be performed, and akarya, which means what is not duty that should be dropped. So the difference between karya and akarya, a sattvic intelligence or buddhi is very clear about. So that is the what we call the next quality. Next is bhaya, which is a sattvic intellect is one that understands what is the source of fear or source of insecurity. So, so it's very clear on that. What is it that brings about my security? And abhayam, which means fearlessness. What is the source of my fearlessness or security? So the distinction between these two also, what is the cause of my security and what is not the cause of my security, is very clearly understood. So the intellect clearly understands that no person, no object, no situation in the world can give me permanent security, peace of mind, tranquility. Because every person, every object, every situation is itself insecure, is itself temporary, is itself changing. So if everything out there which is changing, how can the changing world of objects and people give me permanent security? A sattvic intellect understands this very clearly, that everything will be subject to constant change. People will come and go, relationships will change, financial situations may change. There can be, life is a subject, which life is subject to all sorts of changes. So the sattvic person will pursue that which is permanent security, which is the Atma or the self, and will not depend his security on worldly objects. Next, a sattvic intellect which is able to distinguish between what is bandham, which will cause me bondage. So which action will cause me bondage, and at the same time, which action will lead to my moksha or liberation. So this also a sattvic intellect clearly understands. The Lord concludes in verse 30 by saying, Saha sattvic, that type of intellect is a sattvic intellect. We will resume in the next recording from chapter 18, verse number 31. Hari Om Tat Sat.